Mike's going to talk about big ships and internet on the sea on today's Not So Critical Update.
This one hits close to home. I love cruising. A big frustration is onboard internet, and I don't use it a ton. Mostly, I just use it to message the rest of my party so we can find each other and coordinate on the cruise. However, sometimes it's nice to try and do a little work. Sometimes it's nice to do a little streaming, watch a little YouTube, whatever. It's very expensive with very poor performance on a ship. So what's happening here is Carnival Cruise Lines is experimenting with equipping some of their ships with Starlink so that they can have better performing high-speed internet on the ship. I assume they're going to still charge an arm and a leg for it, but runs be better. So maybe that's a good trade-off.
Yeah, I have a friend. She's currently on a cruise ship, and we've messaged a couple of times, and she also told me how much internet she has with her like Omega Premium package, and it was something like 50 minutes for 7 days. And I love that it's minutes and not like bandwidth. It's time spent, which kind of makes you think they must just be profiting up the ass on this. Like, what a moneymaker.
I don't know what it would cost. I'm sure that's the case. I don't know what it costs for. Presumably they're using satellite internet now if they
Definitely
don't have Starlink.
satellite. Yeah.
It is expensive. I mean, I go.
Well, they have huge deals with these satellite companies.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I generally go on Royal Caribbean. Fancy. And they have like the base package that you're not allowed to do any streaming, and then they have the streaming package. I don't think there's any other limits in terms of bandwidth or time, but it's throttled by speed is the main differentiator. But it's expensive. I mean, in the ballpark.
How much does it run you?
I want to say $10 a day for the non-streaming package, and then probably something in the ballpark of $20 a day for streaming.
Right. So if you're on a 7-day cruise, that's $150 just for internet. That's 3 months of internet at home, if not more.
It adds up fast.
That's really expensive.
And the performance isn't great either.
Right, because traditional satellites, one, I believe they're much higher up than Elon's satellites, and also they're probably running obviously older technology. Elon's why am I blanking on the name now? You just said it. What's it called? Starlink. Starlink is proven at, I think it was 100 megs 1-to-1, if I recall correctly. 100 megs is very fast. So looks like you're doing some research.
I'm trying to, we do live research on the show. I'm trying to find the pricing for some of these, but I'm not. $15 a day for the basic non-streaming package, and then $22.50 per day for the streaming package.
Yeah, that's not cheap. So I imagine Starlink, if they don't already, they probably have some sort of enterprise level deals where they can kind of slap open the funnel and allow even more bandwidth than what they're selling consumers. I also imagine if you have, because when we're talking about bandwidth, we're also limited by the factor of dishes here at home, right? So if I have one Starlink dish, that dish supports maximum throughput of 100 megs up and down. That's what it supports. But if I have a gigantic cruise ship, how many Starlink dishes can I fit? 10, 20, 100. So this could be a total game changer. We'll just have to wait and see. But it is interesting. I am really excited for the change in internet access that we're seeing, specifically with companies like Starlink, because cruise ships, this is just the beginning, right? If a cruise ship can continuously stay connected and linked to a satellite like Starlink, airplanes will as well. They already do to a degree when you're flying over land masses. You can in the US, if you're flying domestic, you'll have internet on United, or Delta, or whatever. But as soon as you cross something like the Pacific or the Atlantic, internet cuts off for 10 plus hours. That's just how it is. This would change that drastically. And the only thing I could see that would be negative is how they start profiting off of this, off of these advances, because it's very expensive as is just flying with Wi-Fi. Do you want Wi-Fi more than the 1 minute that they give you? You know?
Yeah, that's my thought, is that hopefully the performance improves, but the cost is really the more significant issue to my mind. But I'm not a heavy streamer on a cruise, so even
I mean,
still,
you're on a cruise to do stuff, right? You're not there to watch Netflix, so that makes sense.
You'd still want to watch a movie at the beach,
but if you, yeah, exactly. No, but it is. I am excited for it. Eventually, I think what we'll see in a perfect world is something like Wi-Fi connected Starlink that maps an entire city, very similar to what Xfinity does.
I'm sure that's the vision.
Yeah, and even more eventually, farther out, I imagine it will be a worldwide coverage where you will just never have a black spot. And that'll be very interesting, where we can basically just stay connected no matter where we are, as long as we have our device, whatever that device is.
Which feels like how it should be. Right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It feels like that's how it is. But if you said like, oh, you'll get internet everywhere around the world, my thought would be, do we not have that already? What's the problem
and
here?
The first thought is, of course we do, right? Like, but no, we don't.
Yeah,
because
there are a lot of places that don't have internet.
If you drive, I don't know, 1,000 miles straight into the no man's land of America, you're not going to have any reception out there, right? We're talking desert or mountains or whatever. You're not hitting a satellite or a Wi-Fi hotspot or a 5G connection.
True in large parts of the world.
Exactly.
And it's a huge disadvantage not having internet for education, for commerce, for health and safety, just basic communication. Huge disadvantage not having internet access.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to think of it as a luxury, but I mean, there's talk about internet access as a human right. That's probably not overstating the argument.
No. I totally think internet should be considered a utility, similar to electricity and water, which it still isn't. A lot of rural America and other parts of the world have to rely on 3 megs per sec satellite connections that are trash. Dropping, bad weather, no internet, right? Like, satellites down for maintenance, that's gonna do a pass or around your area, well, you don't have internet for 12 hours. Like, that's just how it is. And that sucks for them, because it's not like they chose or have an option to leave where they are, right? So something interesting that Sweden did, my home country. I grew up in a very, very rural area of Sweden, south central Sweden, and
do all the doctors catch that? Everybody who's doing the research to try and figure out who and where Jon is.
Never gonna help him.
What were the time? What years did you live in Sweden? How old were you when you left there?
What they did was, as everyone knows, Sweden is a socialist democratic state, and they provide a lot of things for their citizens, just on the cost, or pro bono, or for free, basically. One thing they did is that they laid fiber across the entire country, including these countryside rural areas. So my grandmother lives in this, I don't know, population of 1,000, 2,000 citizens town, this tiny village out in the middle of nowhere. There's only trees and lakes. That's all you can see. And they have fiber. She has fiber connected to her home. Now, you told that to any farmer out in America, they'd be like, "What is fiber? I've never heard of it."
I heard the other day that my in-laws, who are in their 80s, got fiber to their house. What? And I can't get it to my house, so mostly I'm just jealous. But why the fuck do you have fiber at your house?
Yeah. When I heard that she got fiber, when I heard that she got fiber first off, she doesn't own a computer. She's never used a computer, and she is like 90. And the first thought is like, why do you even need it? But the way it worked is that the phone company, she of course still has a landline. The phone company swapped to VoIP, so she cannot use a landline anymore. So they had to connect fiber to
Awesome.
the house, which is great for us visiting her. But yeah, that's pretty funny and an interesting way to connect the whole country to with a fiber connection.
I did have problems with my internet. I think it actually came up when we started doing the show because you and I produce from my house and you and Peter would both join. And so
Right.
all that bandwidth is going through my home connection and it wasn't very fast. So I got it upgraded. When the guy came out, the technician, he told me that they're actually in the process of upgrading their entire cable network to fiber because the company finally realized that they're not a cable company, they're an internet company. And so I don't know, I assume this is a project that takes 2 to 5 years, probably closer to 5 than
Minimum.
2.
Yeah.
But I'm greatly looking forward to getting fiber internet at my house. Uh, Greatly looking forward to having cheap internet access on my cruises. And I think everything is moving in the right direction on this front.